What?
I said I'm just a cook.
No. He is the celebrity chef, Master Chef, Season 7 winner, and author of My Modern American Table.
You got it.
This is Shaun O'Neale. He's going to be cooking shrimp and grits for us on some natural gas. He needs to say gas 10 times.
Yeah. To collect my paycheck.
And then 10 more times at 3:30 and he can get on his
Ladies
plane.
and gentlemen, please join us at the cooking stage in the east end of the show floor. At this
You're already
time
here.
to see Shaun O'Neale, Master Chef winner.
Season 7.
It's all good.
Okay, he's competing with the dog show and the gun show that's happening in the building just to the north of us. So we are so glad you guys are here. You're committed to learn about yummy food. So we're going to go ahead and let Shaun get started.
Let's
like
do
I
it.
said, hang on to that blue ticket. We'll raffle off a gift card. You can have question and answer. And otherwise, go ahead, Shaun.
Awesome, let's do it. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Oh, it's a quiet bunch. No, come on, guys. How we doing today?
Great.
We're gonna have some good food. We're gonna have a good time. So my name is Shaun O'Neale. I am the winner of Season 7 of MasterChef, and as you heard, author of the cookbook My Modern American Table, which unfortunately I don't have any with me because they're still on the ship from China. But they are available on Amazon and all those other places books are sold. Little interesting fact, I was here in 2020 when the show got shut down, and we all got to go home and spend some time with our loved ones for 2 years. I made a joke at that show that I felt like all this COVID stuff would be gone once Tom Hanks got better, right? I was very, very wrong about that. So I'm glad to see so many smiling faces back out and enjoying life and enjoying this beautiful weather. It's great to have a nice day in Oklahoma today. So today we're gonna do a shrimp and grits. It's a little my spin on a shrimp and grits. It's pretty standard. You know, we're gonna throw in a couple extra things here and there. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Basically, when I do demos, I wanna make sure that you can get everything at your local grocery store, right? So it's not gonna be like something you saw on MasterChef, like where do I get that, how do I find it, all that good stuff. So everything was sourced at local grocery stores. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've done a couple things. One is I've already kind of peeled the shrimp, and I've reserved the shells. The reason I reserved the shells is because we're gonna use these shells to make a nice stock, right? I reserve all my scraps at home, whether it be onion peels, carrot ends, you know, celery bottoms, all that stuff, and I save that stuff to make stocks. We waste so much food, we're throwing away so much. Basically, it's an average of 40% that we waste in America. So that's 40 bucks out of every $100 that you spend that's getting thrown away. Obviously some households are better than others and some households are worse than others. But I like to try to find ways to use those ingredients that I'm paying for, right? This shell weight comes as part of the weight that you're paying for the shrimp. And it's got flavor in it. So we're gonna heat up this pan just a little bit and we'll add a little bit of olive oil in here. And we're gonna let the olive oil heat until it's just starting to shimmer around the pan. And at the same time, we will get this other skillet going here over our natural gas. And we're gonna heat this pan up to cook our shrimp. So we're gonna start cooking our shrimp and just kind of par cook our shrimp so we can get that nice flavor built into the shrimp. Our seasonings kind of cooked onto the shrimp. And then we'll pull it off and we will set it aside until we're ready to actually finish off our sauce. So let's let this heat up just a touch more. Put a little olive oil over here as well. If you guys have questions, feel free to shout them out as I'm going through this. We're just using regular olive oil. All right, so we'll take our shrimp shells. We're gonna throw them into this skillet right here, or pot right here, and we're gonna let them cook until they're nice and bright and vibrant pink, that color that you associate with cooked shrimp. So we'll let these guys go. We'll hit them with a little bit of salt. Not too much, because we're gonna, be adding salt in stages throughout the cooking process. And you can always add more salt at the end. So you want to kind of hold back a little bit to make sure you don't over season your dish. All right, so we'll let this guy warm up just a touch more. Any questions out there so far? Good to go? All right. So I usually serve these shrimp whole. I've gone ahead and chopped them down into like 2 or 3 pieces per shrimp just so we can get enough samples out for everybody. We want to make sure that our pan is hot because we want to get a nice sear on them. We're just using regular Cajun Creole seasoning for this. You could go out and you could buy each individual seasoning if you want, but they've done the job for you and it tastes really good in this dish. So, as you can see, my shrimp are starting to turn a little bit pink, but we want them to be a little bit deeper color. So, now we will go ahead and add our shrimp into our skillet here. We've got a little sizzle going on, that's what we want to hear. and season with our Creole seasoning. You just do it right in the pan, because we're gonna be adding other flavors and other ingredients in here, right? So that Creole seasoning will start to season everything that we've got going on. Give this guy a nice stir around. Let's give it a shake. So coat them with the seasoning, and then we'll let them just kind of do their thing. So we've got some decent color on here. Generally, when I do this, I let it cook for about 45 minutes. Obviously, we're not going to have that kind of time. So you're not going to get the full flavor development in here, but when you do it at home, if you try to make this recipe, cook the stock for about 45 minutes to an hour, roughly. All right. And we'll, oops, drop my water. We'll put the lid on this. Putting the lid on it will help it come to a boil much, much faster, right? So we can kind of accomplish what we need to in the limited time that we have. All right. So give these shrimp a little toss. Again, we're not cooking these to cook them all the way through. We still want them to be a little bit translucent. Right now, we're really just kind of putting some flavor onto the shrimp with that Cajun Creole seasoning that we have. Any MasterChef fans out there? A couple MasterChef fans out there? All right, hands are going up a little bit. Good to see you guys. Right there? Yeah? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Most people thought it was going to be Brandy, but I thank you for that. So I'm super proud to be in the MasterChef family. I've gone and been able to cook around the world. Pre-COVID, I was on the road about 200 to 250 days a year. I've been able to do events in over 9 countries and almost every state in the US. So it's been pretty cool. One of the things that I love is to be able to go out and learn about local food customs. So it's been pretty awesome to go places like Singapore, Dubai, Costa Rica, and really kind of gain some of their knowledge as well. All right, so our shrimp are still a little bit translucent, right? We're gonna move these guys off, turn our heat down. We still want our pan to stay hot, so we're just gonna turn it all the way down for the time being. And we're gonna chop some shallots real quick. So we're just using regular shallots. It's one large shallot essentially. And we wanna dice this, not super fine, but it shouldn't stand out in the dish. You shouldn't get a big chunk of onion when you're eating the dish. So we'll cut that down and then come through like this, same way you would chop an onion, just a little bit smaller. All right, and like I said, you're gonna want to use about 1 large shallot for this. So there we've got one side. Get this other one chopped real quick. Any questions while I'm doing some onion chopping, some shallot chopping? Good to go? Quiet bunch this morning. All right. So now that we've got our shallots chopped, we're just gonna transfer these guys right into our pan that we were cooking the shrimp in. Turn it back up. Now we're not trying to get any color on these shallots. We really just want them to cook until translucent. We're not trying to caramelize them. We're really not trying to get that brown Maillard reaction, which is when you kind of caramelize an onion or a shallot. So we're really just cooking these till translucent. I'm gonna add a little bit more oil to the pan just because the shrimp kind of soaked up a lot of my oil there. And at this time we can go ahead and add our andouille sausage. So andouille sausage is a cured and smoked sausage. So what that means is it's cured over a period of time, not like a salami or like prosciutto where it's cured for years or multiple years. So this is lightly cured more for texture, and it's using a product called pink salts or sodium nitrates, and that kind of gives you that kind of smooth texture throughout the sausage, where if you have a fresh sausage, it's a little bit more crumbly on the inside. And then after it's cured, these are probably cured for a couple days, if even that, then they're smoked. So it brings in a really kind of depth of flavor with a little bit of smokiness, a little bit of spice. Super popular in pretty much all Cajun Creole cuisines, so it really matches perfectly with this shrimp and grits. All right, let's see how our stock is still not boiling. Let's turn that up all the way. And then we're gonna get started on our grits here in a second. I've got some vegetable stock already cooking over here, already warming up. When you cook grits, you wanna put the grits into a already kind of warm environment. You don't wanna put them into cold water and then let it heat with the grits. You want to stir the grits in into already boiling water. All right. So one of the things I want to show you, we're in a few minutes, in a few steps, we're going to use some canned roasted peppers, but this is super easy to do at home. As long as you're paying attention to it, there's really no safety issues or anything like that. But to roast a pepper, really all you have to do is just put it over an open flame and let that outer skin of the pepper really char really nice and black. I'll be able to accomplish a little bit of it here. After it's nicely charred on all sides, you're just going to put it into a bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, and let that steam a little bit. That steam will help that skin release, and then you'll be able to just scrape it off with a knife and then chop your pepper down. This is the cheap way to do it. Obviously, if you want to spend a couple extra bucks, you can get it in cans, save you a little bit of time at home, be a little bit more expensive on the wallet in the grocery store. All right, so those are looking pretty good. We're going to go ahead and add some of our other seasonings here. So we'll add 1 can of diced tomatoes. I like the fire roasted diced tomatoes just because it gives it, again, another level of flavor. Put it in, juice and all. Give that guy a little stir, make sure everything's incorporated. All right, so again, this should be cooking for about 45 minutes. We're not going to get that super depth of flavor, but I wanted to show you the process of it. So the stock should go for about 45 minutes. We're going to go ahead and add it here in just a couple minutes. We'll also season with a little bit more of our Creole seasoning. This is why we were holding back on the salt a little bit when we started the process, because we're going to be seasoning throughout with that Creole seasoning. So we'll let this reduce for just a second. Let that cook a little more. I'm going to pull this off and bring over our grits bowl or grits pan. Ooh, that's a little warm. So I've just had this is just vegetable stock, and I've just had this heating up over about medium-high heat, just to a low simmer, not to a really raging boil. And then we're going to go ahead and start adding our grits into this. So you want to do this kind of slowly. Generally, it's about 4 cups of liquid to about 1 cup of grits, but grits are a little bit forgiving. You can add a little bit more liquid if you need to. So don't be too specific on your measurements. And also these, if they're 32 ounces, which most of them usually are, is 4 cups, right? So one box. So we'll start pouring this in. And I'm going to go a little bit heavier than a cup because I ran out of grits yesterday when I was giving out the samples. So you want to stir to make sure you don't get any clumps as you're adding the grits to the pan. That would just be a little safety net for you to make sure you're not getting any really clumpy grits towards the end of the cooking process. So with grits, you do have to keep an eye on them, and you do have to stir them quite often. We want to turn the heat down to about medium, and we're going to let these guys go. We're going to add 2 bay leaves, which we will have to fish out at the end, but we're going to go ahead and add them because they do bring a good depth of flavor. And we're going to add a couple sprigs of thyme. That's super fresh thyme, so it's got a little bit different, more kind of fresh, earthy flavor than dried thyme does. And then we're just going to keep an eye on this and keep stirring it. Here you can see my pepper has started to turn a little bit black. If I was using it over a little bit higher burner, we'd get a lot more color on that. But just wait until you get the whole thing is nice and black, and then you can, like I said, steam it and then take that skin off really easily. So let's grab our shrimp stock back from over here. Where's my little strainer go? All right. Just so we don't get any shells in, we'll pour it in through a strainer. All right. Now we're going to let that reduce. So you want this to be a little liquidy. Sorry, I got popped in the eye with some grits. You want this to be a little liquidy, but we need to reduce it down a good bit, right? So we're going to probably reduce this down by half as we're stirring our grits here as well. Turn my grits down because they are popping everywhere. All right, so I can already tell I'm going to need a little bit more liquid in my grits because they swelled up really fast. So I'm going to add just a little bit more. We want to add just enough where we don't bring the temperature of the grits down too much. And since this isn't cold, it hasn't been in the fridge, this won't bring the temperature down too much. So we'll just add a little bit at a time as we need it. We'll go ahead and season this with some salt and a little bit of pepper. All right, so now we will get to our roasted red bell peppers here. Just pull a few out, maybe about a half a cup's worth, somewhere in that range. Try not to get too much of the liquid because you are going to be chopping this and they'll be sliding around all over your cutting board if you do. Yeah, that should be enough.
Hey, Shaun.
Yes.
Can you hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at you right now while
Oh,
you're cooking?
I hear him all the time. I hear him in my sleep. I hear him when I get on a plane. It's like everywhere I go, it's Gordon, Gordon, Gordon. His face is inescapable. So I went to a NASCAR race last week in Vegas, and I'm walking underneath to go to like the infield area. I was there for Pit Boss. I'm an ambassador for Pit Boss Grills. So the whole line of promotions down the whole walkway. It's Gordon's face everywhere I go. I get on a plane. Gordon's the spokesperson for Delta now. Like, he pops up on Delta's safety videos and things like that. So I really cannot avoid this man wherever I go. When you're on MasterChef, you're so immersed in food and what's going on and Gordon Ramsay and trying to impress Gordon Ramsay that he starts creeping into your dreams. He starts creeping into your daily thoughts. But what I always tell people is when you're on the show, obviously you're competing to win $250,000. You're competing for the cookbook. You're competing for everything that comes along with the title being Master Chef. But when you're there, all you want to hear is one sound, just one sound from Gordon Ramsay where he goes, right? Because if he doesn't go, he's probably going to call you an idiot sandwich and kick you out of the kitchen. So the whole time you're really literally just competing to hear Gordon Ramsay make a single sound. So it's a pretty unique experience for sure. Anybody have any Master Chef questions they've been dying to ask? No?
What's your favorite food?
It's my favorite food? I have a lot. I lean to steak and pasta a lot. I love making fresh homemade pasta. I feel like it's one of those kind of surreal moments, very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't find the word I'm looking for. I enjoyed too much of the nightlife last night in Tulsa. It's a zen moment, right? It's just you, the flour, the eggs. So, I mean, it can either go really bad or it can come out perfectly, right? And when it comes out perfectly, it's like, oh man, I did that. Like, I made this beautiful pasta from just flour, right? So I love things that, you know, are so simple at the base of it, but can become these elaborate things like agnolotti. Agnolottis are these little stuffed pastas where you roll out a sheet and you put little dots down the line, you wrap it over, you give them a little tuck, right? It comes out looking like this perfect little pillow, right? Which is super complicated and super intricate, but at the end of the day, it's just flour and eggs. So I like those kind of things. I think those are the sexy part of food. All right, any other questions out there while we're stirring our grits? Okay, let's go ahead and add our red bell pepper into our sauce mix here. I keep calling it sauce mix, but it's really, I keep doing that. I keep forgetting this thing.
That's not powered by gas.
I know.
We don't care. Just turn on another burner, Shaun.
Speaking of while we're on gas, you want to talk about what we were mentioning yesterday about the landfill stuff and
Sure. So Shaun's from Vegas. They have some sustainability efforts going on out there toward the West Coast, and I just wanted to remind everybody that we do right here in Oklahoma Natural Gas. We have partnered with a renewable natural gas company to start being part of the solution. So if you guys are familiar with the landfill that's just west of here, towards Sand Springs, a little bit past that, they're actually doing that right now. They're capturing the landfill waste and using it to convert to electricity right now. So we've partnered to also be a part of the solution. And that's really why we do things like this. We want you guys to buy energy efficient equipment so that we're part of the solution.
Awesome, yeah. It's great when, you know, natural gas is abundant. I heard you say something, abundant renewable resources.
Oh, I talk a lot.
Yeah.
It's abundant, it's clean burning, it's reliable, it's safe, it's affordable.
You can't tell this is the moment where I'm getting those 10 gas.
Yeah,
where I have
this
to
is
say
how we
gas
earn
10
this
times. This is how many I got? Am I at 9? 8?
Yeah.
Okay, gas.
Why do you like
We're
cooking
good.
on gas though? Gas is very common.
I love cooking on gas for reliability, reliability. You know, I've traveled the world. Obviously, places like Singapore, Dubai, like you're going to encounter different cooking methods and a lot of open fire stuff, things like that. So, really, it's the ease, affordability, reliability, and then the steps that a lot of natural gas companies are taking, like we were just talking about, in trying to use waste to power our homes, to heat our homes, to help us cook food. So I think it's the best tool for the job. All weekend I've been talking about the best tool for the job, and natural gas is the best tool for the job when it comes to your kitchen. Okay, so this is simmering pretty well. We're gonna add some lemon in just a minute. You don't wanna cook lemon too much. Lemon can become a little bit bitter, and we're just gonna add a touch to this when we get there. but we still need to reduce this down a little bit more. Do we have any other questions out there? No? Okay. We are going to add our shrimp back here in just a second, and I think I can fake this. I can add some butter and give it a little bit more density here. So when our grits are done cooking, we're not using instant grits. A lot of people will go to instant grits, so these grits are getting close to being done, but since they're not instant grits, they do take about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how much you're stirring, how much liquid you've added, but those look pretty good. So as I'm doing this, I want to go ahead and try to fish out the thyme and the bay leaf, because we don't want to serve that to you guys. So grab some of the thyme here. And if the little leaves fall off the thyme, that's fine. Just get the bigger stems. And of course the bay leaves, because bay leaves don't cook to be edible. All right. A little bit more. Cool.
Shaun.
So, yes.
Okay, my husband is in the back row, and if you say that you're not supposed to eat a bay leaf one more time, and he shoots a look at me, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been married for 20 years. I didn't know that in the beginning, and so I was like, I just grabbed one out of the little container and crumbled it up.
Oh, you thought it was like a spice seasoning, yeah.
Like, I'm like, why would they not just already crush this for you? This is stupid. And so I crushed it, and then I read the rest of my recipe, which was fail number 1. Read the whole recipe.
Yes,
before
always
you
read the
start.
whole recipe first.
So then I was fishing it out. So I told Brandon, I was like, wait for it to turn. Wait, there it is. There's the look. No gun show for you.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. All right, so I got both the bay leaves out. We got the thyme out. So our grits are pretty much done. We just want this to reduce a little bit more. So one of the things that I like to do with grits that might be a little bit different is add some mascarpone cheese. So in America, we think of mascarpone more as like a sweet cheese for tiramisu, for things like that, but it actually adds some incredible like creaminess and then just that little burst of cheesiness as well. So we're gonna add some mascarpone cheese as well as some butter to our grits. It's basically Italian sweetened cream cheese, but it's not like super sweet, but great for desserts and then great for these grits as well. Should get all that in there. All right, and then we're going to use about 4 tablespoons of butter. So it's definitely not the healthiest dish on the planet, but it's delicious. So that's what really matters, right? I was saying yesterday that it's different when I cook in California and I got to cook all vegetables and it drives me crazy. But when I go to the rest of the country, I can actually put butter in things and put a bunch of cheese in things. You guys appreciate it, so it's my people. The beef and butter people, it's my people. All right, so as you can see, it's starting to get a lot creamier. That butter's starting to melt nicely. Our sauce is coming along fairly well. So at this point, you do want to stir it pretty good just to make sure that that cheese and butter is fully incorporated into our grits. And then we'll give it a little taste, see how we need on salt. See if we need to add a little pepper. Definitely need salt. Grits need a lot of salt to really bring out that flavor. Give it another stir. Grab a fresh spoon here and give it a taste. That's better. Okay. So I know you hear chefs all the time telling you always be tasting. With grits and also the risotto that I'll be making later, it's not really about always tasting for salt or for flavor, it's about tasting for doneness, right? So as I tasted that, I noticed it just has about 2 or 3 more minutes because it's just a little teeny bit on not the crunchy side, but like al dente, right? You can feel a little bit of the grits in there. So we're gonna give this about 2 more minutes. And we'll go ahead and add our shrimp back into our sauce here to let those finish cooking. We'll give it a little bit of lemon. And then we're gonna add a little bit of butter to this as well. So we'll just use the remaining half a stick we have here. All right, let me get this mascarpone back so I can use it for the later demo. All right, so now it's really just about letting that butter melt, letting everything kind of incorporate, and then we are just about ready to get you guys some samples here. Any questions? That's good? Yes, sir.
Did you go to school and learn how to cook?
I went to the School of Cookbooks. Yeah, I didn't go to culinary school, but Probably 15, 20 years ago, I just started developing this weird obsession with cookbooks, and it just started buying old ones, new ones, restaurant cookbooks, anything I could get my hands on, and I just kind of nerded out over them, and I still am kind of the same way to this day. I don't know why. I hated school. I was not the best student in school, but something just attracts me. I think when you find that thing, you know, you can get obsessive over something, and I just, ever since, even throughout MasterChef and to this day, it's just all about cookbooks for me. So.
But Shaun, that's kind of one of the requirements of MasterChef, right? You can't be a trained chef.
Yes. Yeah.
So will you tell us a little bit about the screening process on that show?
Absolutely. So MasterChef is the search for America's best home cook. So it's you can't have any classic training. You can't have gone to culinary school. I worked in restaurants when I was younger. I was a DJ for 20 years, and when that wasn't working out so well, I worked in restaurants. So you can have worked in restaurants, but you can't have like had a career in restaurants, right? So a little bit of the process is, my season had 38,000 people audition for it around the country. They usually go to about 15 or 20 cities around the country and do open casting calls. So basically what you do is you bring your food in, already made, and then you have 3 minutes to plate your dish in front of whatever judges they brought in. Now it's not Gordon and Aron Sanchez, it's local guys and things like that. So you have 3 minutes to plate your food in a room with about 60 other MasterChef hopefuls that are trying to be noticed. When they come around, they taste your food. If they like what they've seen, then they move you into another room where they did like a trivia thing to test your kind of food knowledge. And then after that, if they like you, it moves on into sending them recipes, pretty much for like 3 or 4 months. Like you'll probably send in about 40 or 50 recipes, and they do their due diligence. They go and Google to make sure that you're not straight up copy pasting things. I was talking earlier, Gordon has a saying that he says it's good recipes are borrowed and great recipes are stolen. So obviously, you know, you're going to use some inspiration from internet or from recipes that you know, but they do a good job making sure you don't just straight copy paste and send it in. From then, if they still like you, you get to do the background check portion of it, and that gets very interesting. If you've ever done anything in the adult entertainment world, you have to send that stuff in to MasterChef for them to review. And it's very strange. That part of the background check paperwork is like 20 pages. It's weird. Luckily, I'm clear on that aspect, but they have, obviously, if they have to put that in, they've had an issue in the past, right? So it's very funny. You do psychology tests. You have to sit down with a psychologist because they want to make sure you can handle the stress and being away from everything you know for so long. So it's quite a process. From then on, if they still like you, you get moved, you get brought out to LA. My season, they brought out 80 people, which got reduced down to 40 people, and that's where you guys start seeing the filming part where we go head to head to battle for aprons. So the whole process is about a year. And then filming is fairly quick. I mean, it's about 3 months. They take you out of everything you know. They take your cell phone away from you. They don't give you your own hotel room key when you go to bed at night. They basically put you in your room and say, see you in the morning. One 30-minute phone call, one 10-minute phone call a week, 30 minutes of internet time a week with basically somebody standing right over your shoulder the whole time to make sure you're not giving away any of the secrets. So they actually have a $5 million non-disclosure agreement if you want to be on the show. So if you do the calculations, that's a lot more than the one person will win. So you tend to keep your mouth shut and just fall in line with what they want you to do. All right, let's start serving some of this stuff up. Any other questions out there before I start getting you? I have not. I cannot watch Gordon Ramsay shows anymore. I am tormented by that man. I love him to death. He's been an amazing mentor to me, but you can only take so much of Gordon, especially when you've had the real deal, right? So, and honestly, it's that way with most cooking shows. I was talking about this earlier too, but the only cooking shows I really watch these days are things like Chef's Table on Netflix, like the stuff that I can kind of learn from, right? Like MasterChef, it's great, and every once in a while there's a great talent on there, but at the end of the day, it's a competition show, so you have to watch 10 weeks of people really struggling before you get to people kind of performing at their best, right? I'll say this, it does take a long time to kind of get into the rhythm of that kitchen, right? Because you don't know where anything is, you don't know where your pots and pans are. It takes a good probably 3 or 4 cooks before you really can start showing what you've got in that kitchen. If you notice, the first couple wins on MasterChef on any given season is always somebody who doesn't do very well. It's just because dumb luck, right? And if you watch it, you'll notice it. But it's quite a tough, rigorous 3.5 months of filming. You know, with all those conditions that I told you, where you don't get to have any access to anybody. It can be pretty intense.
Dad.
Yeah, we can start doing it. I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you. Yeah, I made more grits.
Any more
today,
questions?
Too, so.
Dad?
Yeah.
My dad has a question.
Yep. Oh, good. So something like that, and then. Yeah,
Dad, do you want me to
I'll
bring the
let you do it here in a
microphone?
second. And then just a little
Love
bit
you.
of that.
Love you, I love you,
Maybe
I love
not
you.
as much liquid. I should have cooked it down a little bit more, but it'll be good. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Oh, your dad? Yes, sir. What dish did I audition with? So they asked me this yesterday too, and I had to get way back in the memory bank. But I'm pretty sure it was a honey chipotle hanger steak. I don't know if it was honey chipotle now that I said it. It was a hanger steak. Oh, it was, okay, I got it. It was a roasted garlic marinated hanger steak. And then I did a butternut squash puree, a Madeira demi-glace, which is kind of like a wine sauce, pickled mushrooms, and charred scallions. So, and if you watched MasterChef and you saw my finale plate, I plated it on like a section of wood. I plated it on that kind of same feel, so when I got to the finale, it was kind of a full circle. This is what I started with, and this is where I've grown to. So it was crazy. So I brought down a cooler, and in the cooler I lined it with those back heating pads that, you know, you slap them and they stay warm, and that's how I kept my food warm until I got to the judging aspect. I said that was my first, like, off the top of my head, quick thinking move in the whole MasterChef experience. So started fun. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
As you're practicing your recipes and making all of this food, what do you do with all that food?
On the show?
Just at home?
Oh, at home? You know, I work with a lot of brands, like cookware brands and grill companies and things like that. So I am doing a lot of social media content, but I always try to make sure that I'm cooking what I'm cooking for dinner, right? Because one of the things that I try to strive for is minimal food waste at my house. I would love to be able to live in a place like this where I could actually compost things and things of that nature. But I try to eat everything. I try to have friends over or people come by if I have to do a big spread or something like that. Now, on television, there's a lot of food waste. Like, they try their best, but unfortunately, they've had issues in the past where they've donated a lot of food and then they get lawsuits, right? It's just unfortunate that that's the climate we live in, right? So they don't do that anymore, but one thing they do is every once in a while when things are maybe getting to where they're getting a little bit softer, still good, they'll let the crew come in and do like a shopping day in the pantry of MasterChef. So they try, but most of our stuff is thrown away that we cook on the show, and there's a reason for that. The reason is the only people who can eat the food are the judges, right? Because it's very strict. Like, there's lawyers all over the set when we're filming, right? Fox has lawyers there, MasterChef has lawyers there, production companies have lawyers there, right? There's rules for every single challenge. So if you were to let like the whole crew eat what we're making, you're going to get that dissent among people. Oh, the judges weren't right. The judges didn't get it right, right? So the judges are going to be the only people who taste. Now, there are exceptions to that, like when we do cake battles, they'll let the crew come in and have some of the cake if they want to, but for the most part, it's only the judges that get to eat, so whatever's left gets thrown away. So if that's open things like mascarpone cheese or ricotta or things like that, like, unfortunately, it gets thrown away. Yeah, it's a bummer.
Shaun, you didn't mention baking yesterday. Most chefs I've ever talked to, you either like cooking or you like baking, but not both.
Well, I don't like baking, but I have
But
to
you
do it
had to.
sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
the other thing you do is, some of you might know he's partnered with a pit boss, and since Traeger's right behind me, I'll try to keep this quiet. What's your favorite thing to smoke on your pit boss grill?
Yeah, I'm a beef guy, so either brisket, short ribs. I love going to short ribs, but you know, they're kind of one and the same. You treat them the exact same way. But yeah, I definitely turn to beef primarily. But you know, I get bored a lot too, so I start trying to get creative. Like the other day, I bought a little spit roaster, and I'm doing some tacos al pastor and making some like homemade gyro like meat on my spit. So you know, I try to get away from the mundane as well. Yeah.
Do you have a beef message?
As far as like, I mean, Wagyu would be my preference, but that's super expensive. But you know, if it's brisket, I just try to find a nice fine cut, right? Because brisket, you really have to have that intermuscular fat, or it's going to get super dry, super fast, right? So I try to get the better quality as I can, you know. But if I have to cook cheap, I just try to baby it a little bit more. With brisket now, they're making I can't remember the brand, but they actually make an injection now that has enzymes in it that help break down the meat in the brisket. I can't. If you get on Amazon, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. But you actually just inject the brisket, and if you're having problems with like the brisket drying out, you can solve that, alleviate that with this injection, and it works wonders. It's crazy. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Do I have or work? So I got into business with some bad people. I did have a restaurant, but unfortunately, my business partners turned out to be kind of crooks. So we're dealing with that right now, unfortunately. But this is what I do. I'm on the road. That's why I'm super happy that the world is kind of coming back a little bit. Like I said, pre-COVID, I was on the road 200, 250 days a year. I've worked. Actually, next weekend I go to Anaheim to do Disneyland, California Adventure Food and Wine Festival. So I do a lot of food festivals and a lot of expos. I've thrown out first pitches for Major League Baseball teams and designed kind of their VIP food menus. Did an event at the Super Bowl right before COVID. So I try to get my hands in everything, just because the food world is everywhere, right? You don't go anywhere without some sort of food being around you. So the possibilities are endless if you know how to approach them.
It looks like many of us have gotten a
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you, sir.
what's
Appreciate
that
it.
sound you wanted to hear from Gordon? Can we give him a Yeah, that was good stuff. Okay, you guys.
Awesome.
Shaun will be up here hanging out. We're gonna draw for the gift card real quick. So
Yeah.
if you don't have your hands full, grab your blue ticket.
Time to supper.
What's that? What time supper? I'll be on a plane. Heading back to Vegas.
After you say gas 10 more times at 3:30.
Yeah.
Okay, get your blue ticket out. Ready? 515. You guys are all winners so far. 1647.
Ah, nice.
Yay! All right, so this is a $50 gift card to Albert G's Barbecue. That is local, if you guys didn't know that.
That looks great.
It was started by
Want a
a
job?
busboy at Jamil's Steakhouse, and he now has 3 locations in Tulsa. I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. COVID hit us all really hard, but I would say that the restaurant industry was really affected. So the one thing that we can do today to support our local restaurants is just go out and eat. Go have a bite to eat. Be patient with your servers and owners. A lot of times the person that's serving you is the chef and owner, because there's just not any help right now. So go out, support your local restaurants, eat good food, and we'll get the rest of you guys served. We're still plating them up, so if you want more, then just hang around, ask Shaun questions, and otherwise, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.